in the last stream because like my shit was, like I keep losing network. My stream keeps restarting. Anyway, so I posted the video about the mission bed design. I took GTA Vice City Hardline and GTA Vice City Titan as examples, If you want to watch the video, then go watch the video, okay? Anyway, so this video gonna be about why facial beauty is not objective. We know what we're gonna do, bro? We're gonna react to some people, We're gonna react to some people. We're gonna see what they say because most of people have no idea. They have no idea what is objective and what is not. What it means to be objective or something to be objective. So let's try. There's this guy called Clavicular, right? So he's talking. He's like a black pillar. He's like the final boss of Black Pill. Well, I think he's really smart, So he's way smarter than me. He's way more knowledgeable than me. But let's see what he says, bro. I'm gonna give my opinion, He says, bro. I did watch these videos, but I want to see like. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing because this is like. But let's see, because I wanna give my opinion, Let's see what he says. Can I like make this bigger? Okay.
Clav, take me back to 14-year-old Brayden. Exact moment you decided that.
Okay, this is not. Let's see what he says about. Listen, first of all, bro. Anyone who says that, man, he can do whatever he wants, bro. Anyone who says no, you shouldn't do that, bro, this is none of your business, man. You can give like advice and stuff, but you cannot say that someone like just because he does not follow you, like he's stupid or whatever. He can do whatever he wants with, it's his life, I mean, I'm against like promoting drugs and all that to the youth, to teenagers, but if he wants to do a limb lengthening surgery, he wants to do, then that's his business, No one has any right to tell him what to do. Okay?
Then, so you're always going to value, you think every single day you're progressing, where that might not be true when you're using steroids, Like, well, I would be at my goal and I'd have to reevaluate my life, see what I wanted to do next because.
Bro, what he talks about, I want to see what he talks about. No, let me say something.
Right now, this is the journey part for me.
Let me say something. Not knowledgeable, not knowledgeable about these things, but like, I can tell you for sure, bro. Like, beauty is not objective. Difference, but like people confuse between intersubjectivity and objectivity. Okay, you might say that if you put like people in a room, to choose from like 10 girls, unattractive and one is attractive. I guarantee that most people would choose the attractive girl as the attractive, but not because it's objectively true, but because it's because of biology, because of evolution. And this is where people like make the mistake. They assume that the biology is an objective standard of beauty, which is not the case, because biology favors like survival. It does not favor tracking truth. So just because you feel that something is more attractive does not make it objectively true. This is what people don't understand. Like, even this symmetry, these proportions, these things that we can all agree upon, almost all of us, because of biology, It still does not make it like true. That's the thing that people don't understand. And it's not fully subjective, so it's like intersubjective with biological constraints, if that makes sense. Well, let's see what he says.
So I'm not interested in just some lame.
Well, this is the thing that people don't get, bro. I'm even gonna watch this, bro. Because this is too long and I don't know, like. I don't have that much information, like, to be honest. This guy is way smarter than me. He's way more knowledgeable than me. I'm just giving, like, I'm just saying what I think,
Where I started reading on bodybuilding.com, some things about how, people would come on and shitpost and troll about how the all that matters. And, that bodybuilding and physique, it was cope. And I was like, hey, this doesn't really make sense. And the more that I thought about it, it kind of started to make sense. Just thinking about it from a woman's perspective, realizing with my personal anecdotes, that the face is more important. And everything started to get worse as my face.
Okay, so he made the point. He said that face is more important. Depends. If we're talking about real life, if we're talking about dating, like dating apps, listen, if we're talking about dating apps, then definitely he's right. Looks are the most important, not face looks. Yeah, face is probably the most important metric in this looks, in this looks thing, but when it comes to dating, he's right. There are actually studies like that prove that people swipe based on based primarily on facial attractiveness. So that's the most important metric in dating. I'm not denying that, in dating apps. But when it comes to real life, it's only the entry, It's only the metric you need to be attractive to get a chance, right? It's like it sets your foot in the door, if that makes sense. But it's not the full determinant. Because relationships they last based on several things. Like your facial attractiveness can become what can I say, normal, to the partner over time. So it's more about chemistry, personality. That these things matter more in the long term. In the short term, then yeah, I would say yeah. But also it depends on the individual. These are some things that you cannot generalize, because even if there was a study that proves looks are the most important metric, you cannot generalize it. We are not talking about the effects of cigarettes, because these are some effects on biology, so, but these are what people find attractive. These are more, more related to the individual, because, Now this is the problem. You cannot generalize things like this. People preferences cannot be generalized, if that makes sense. Looks are undeniably important. So this is my point. Looks are undeniably important. They're very important. But whether they are the most important, this is something that we cannot know for sure, because it depends on the individual, if that makes sense.
It's gotten more bloated, gotten more acne from doing the caloric surplus. So it was a combination of those two things that made me kind of reevaluate. And
because listen, if looks are the most important, right? If looks they are the most important, right? The most important metric. If you are not good looking, you have no chance. Then how do you explain some not good looking people, some unattractive people? I mean, they're not a minority. There are a lot of unattractive people who still are in relationships, who still got girlfriends. How do you explain that? If looks are really the most important metric, this is where the problem is, because if we were really true, then only attractive people would be in relationships, But it's not the case, so...
Change my course a little bit.
So if you had to give me where you spend your time, working on, would you say it's 30% effort on the physique, 70% on the face, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
And then how limited is the average person genetically? I guess we can speak about body versus face, but can they ascend, as the looks maxing community would put it, go from a 5 to a 7, if we're speaking on a scale from 1 to 10, through natural methods, or do they need surgeries, medications, peptides?
So that's a really good question, and the answer isn't as simple as you think, right? So the average person can make a lot of progress. It's just an IQ issue. That's the genetic issue that we're facing, is IQ, because people aren't going to be logical enough. Like I said before, they want to live in fantasy.
I mean, to be honest, I think that everyone can improve their looks. I mean, if you got the money, you're capable, of buying this skincare, products, all of this. I mean, you can actually, I've seen people who ascend, so it's possible. But I think your potential is, it depends. It varies from individual to individual. Some people have high potential. Some people don't have that much potential. So I mean, it depends. But you can definitely improve your looks.
land, so they're not going to do the things that are actually required to make the progress that's needed. So it really comes down to that. But if someone is hyper logical, doing the things that I'm doing, they can probably go up in look scale by 30 to 40 percentiles, I would say.
Okay, so there is a difference. Between people who make things for themselves and people who make things for others, right? No, people who make things for themselves, they do, it makes them feel happy, because it gives them confidence, not because, I mean, maybe they want to, please other people. I mean, we are, right? But the problem is when your entire happiness is dependent on other people, that's the problem. When your entire happiness is dependent on other people. Because if people are not satisfied by the way you look, then you won't be happy, So it should not, when you do stuff, it should not be to please other people. If that makes sense.
Your physique, I mean, the sky's the limit with that. That's something that's, almost anyone could really hit a huge increase on.
Quick, check this one out. But anyway, back to the podcast. So do you think, I don't know, you and I, with our frames now, the right set of drugs could be bodybuilder level, Mr. Olympia?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's not possible. And that's
However, so we talked about relationship, we talked about dating apps. What about social media? I think with social media, yeah, looks are probably very, very important. But there are also successful people who are unattractive, so they're not that attractive. It makes sense. So how can you say that it's the most important? I mean, because there are other factors. Yeah, it is incredibly important, but whether it's the most important, that's debatable,
a lot of people's, reason to not take steroids because they don't want to look like Mr. Olympia guys, and it's that's just so ridiculous to me. You never will, even if you wanted to. That will never happen to you. I'm not.
Okay, so this is not what it looks the most important thing.
Don't even place that as the most important thing.
I absolutely.
Bro, listen. Not everyone cares about girls because these people are so narrow-minded, because they think that everyone who does something, he does it for girls, bro. So if someone says that he doesn't care about that much about girls, he's lying because girls, they care about looks, so you automatically care about looks. But not everyone cares about girls. That's the problem, so even if someone is trying to be attractive, not everyone wants to be attractive for others. I mean, there is it's impossible to be influenced by what other people think. So anyone who says they're not influenced by what other people think, there's doubt about it because it's not natural. It's not natural and it's not human, to be completely influenced by what other people think. There is influence, but influence is not control. Influence does not mean control. You can be influenced by other people's opinions, but you aren't controlled by it, It's people are confused between these things. Everybody's influenced by other people's opinions, but not everyone is being controlled by it. Because, for example, if everyone is all successful people are being hated on, right? There are always haters who hate no matter what. If influence really means control, then everyone would be there would be no successful people because there is this constant influence of bad people, they're the haters. You cannot reach success, you should just give up, you should, why are you wasting your time doing this, you're this and that. So if you really If their influence is really controlling you, then is really controlling everyone, then everyone will be like, fuck it, I'm giving up, man, I cannot take this anymore, you know? But it's not the case. Not everyone falls for the influence.
Think it could be a little bit contradictory, but the thing is, I'm playing a game and trying to get a result, right? So I know that looks are going to help me maintain my relationship more, help whatever long-term partner I'm with, see a lot more value in me, actually be able to love me to a higher degree. So I know these things are true, but I don't really think that that's true for me, right?
Well, listen. Like, I mean, I'm not generalizing, but listen. In a lot of cases, if you're not like satisfied, I mean, it's good to improve, right? But the problem is like when you need to improve, because wanting to improve is one thing, right? Wanting to be more attractive is one thing, and needing to be more attractive is another thing. If you want to be attractive but you don't need to be attractive, I mean, there is no problem. You want to be attractive, but if you're not going to be attractive, it's no problem. The problem is when you need to be attractive, right? Because when you need to be attractive, it's like you are not satisfied by the way you look, because I mean, most people who need to be attractive, like they're not satisfied by the way you look. I mean, you gotta be this way, and this way you still gotta be this way, you know? So the key is wanting to be attractive, not need to be attractive. Like, be satisfied by your own self. Yes, you want improvement. But if you can like improve your physical attractiveness, then it should not make you feel sad, if that makes sense.
I think that if I'm attracted to someone, then I'm not really too worried about whether their mid-face ratio is 1-to-1, right? It's just like if I'm able to be attracted to them, then I'm able to be attracted to them. But I know that women are a little bit different. With hypergamy and all this stuff that we talked about, trying to date beyond their means. So I'm like, in the back of my mind, I know, that I kind of have to
Well,
be
listen.
a little bit more on top.
I know these people talk about hypergamy, like, I mean, yeah, it's true, right? It exists. But it's not like an objective fact. We're not talking about objective facts right here, right? It's intersubjective. Yeah, it's common between a lot of women, but it's not like an objective fact. Not every woman in the world like has this hypergamy stuff, you know? Not every woman in the world. Some women do not like, they are satisfied with their partner. Even if they find someone who's better, they're not going for that person. So yeah, while like hypergamy is intersubjective, it's very common. It's not objective, it's not a fact. So let's continue.
My game. Then
So do you think looks are the most important thing for women?
I would say so, without a doubt.
Like for the
I would agree with this. I mean, based on like, I mean, real life, you know, like, not only on my experience, but on experiences of different people, online, real life. It seems that the most important metric for women, like, attraction for women, is looks. It is looks. Right? I mean, we cannot deny that. Like, males, like, they are more like visually stimulated, like by the ass, by the face. It's like they're like, it's like what they are attracted to is more physical. While with women it's a mix. It's like physical. It's like emotional. It's like wealth. It's like, you know, there's a lot of things. For a woman, in most cases, listen, I'm not generalizing. But for a lot of women, you know, you just gotta be attractive. That's it. You know, you just gotta be attractive. You just gotta be good looking. But for men, you gotta be good looking. You gotta be able to provide. You gotta be, what else? You gotta be able to provide. You gotta be, you gotta have a lot of things. You know, like wealth, status. I mean, fame is also important. Education is also important. So you gotta be able to provide. You gotta be able to provide security. You gotta, like security, stability. You gotta have a strong, like personality. So it's a lot of things for men. So it's not equal. Like the value exchange in most cases is not equal. And I think that in relationships where the value exchange is not mutual, it's not equal, I think, like, why be in a relationship like that where the value exchange is not like, I think it's stupid to be in a relationship like that, but that's just my opinion, That's just my opinion.
To get men, like, would you say that's the most important thing for women to focus on?
Absolutely, yeah, because, right, the first impression is everything, and the first impression will always be looks. But I don't really think it's a good idea for me to say, I would leave my girlfriend in a second for a top tier model, right? Because obviously, if the two were standing next to each other, before I had been romantically involved with either, you're obviously going to go with the top tier model. But once you've actually built a connection and, some sort of long-term thing with someone and you actually start to love them, it's a little bit different, right? You're not just going to leave them.
Bro, listen. We gotta clarify something, man. Attraction is too complex. You cannot narrow it down to a set of metrics. Anyone who narrows it down to a set of metrics, he doesn't know. He has no idea what he's talking about. Because attraction is like about looks, right? It's about physics. It's about facial beauty. It's about facial beauty, physics. What else? It's about height. It's about personality. It's about chemistry. It's about fame. It's about wealth. It's about, some people value emotional stability. Some people they want common shared values. So there are a lot of things into play. So it's really not that simple, right? It's like this oversimplification is misleading a lot of people. And a lot of people think that attraction is based on biological, like it's biological, It's based on biological factors. But no, attraction is not based on biological factors alone. It's based on signals. Money, for example. Money increases attraction because it's a signal. It's a signal, like it's a signal. It signals to women that the man is able to provide. Is able to to create stability. You get what I'm saying? So women react to attraction is about signals, right? Women react to signals, not to biological factors, if that makes sense.
In the blink of an eye, for someone who's a little bit better looking. That's just not really how it works. I don't really think that's how it works for women too, who have opposite brain chemistry, but a lot of the women we see today would probably do that.
What does it mean to be low inhibition?
So being low inhibition is low anxiety, having a low amount of certain neurotransmitters that are linked to anxiety, and just being able to kind of do and say whatever you want without, spiking your cortisol again.
So this is how I would define it. I think that low inhibition is like doing things without thinking about the consequences. It's like this this overconfidence when you do things without thinking about the consequences. But while high inhibition is when you're very careful. You think you are cautious, about the consequences. You don't just do stuff, you don't rush to do stuff. So that's what high inhibition is. Now the problem is that high inhibition, it could indicate insecurity in a lot of cases. But it's just carefulness, carefulness, you're just trying to avoid problems, right? But in sometimes, bro, it could people would misinterpret it as an insecurity and confidence, if that makes sense. Whereas with low inhibition, a lot of people would interpret it as as confidence, even though it could signal stupidity. It's called, like not thinking about the outcome, I would recommend that if you think that there are no consequences, like in a lot of cases, I think that, yeah, for your actions, like you gotta be like, I mean, if there are bad consequences, you gotta be high inhibition. But aside from that, you gotta be low inhibition, If that makes sense. If the consequences are not bad, like just do it if you wanna do it, You gotta have that courage in you, bruh.
Getting really anxious. Just being free is the best way to put it. That's always been me. I've really never cared about anyone's opinion. Never really cared about.
Okay, so we get to this point that there is no way we don't care about what other people think. We are, in a certain way, like hardwired to think, like to care about what other people think. As I said, to varying degrees. But being influenced by what other people think cannot be avoided, right? Well, it cannot be avoided. It does not control. So in your case, you are influenced, but you're not controlled by what other people think.
Embarrassing myself, getting rejected, getting shot down. These are just not things that register in my brain, So it's genetic and it's different for everyone. Some people deal with horribly high inhibition and it's life ruining. But that's just never been me.
I mean, yeah, in certain cases, yeah, I mean, high inhibition could be a problem, When you overthink about the consequences too much, but if the consequences are really dangerous, then I think high inhibition is good. But if not really, you gotta be like, you gotta act, It's like that extra carefulness that, it's like it can be a problem sometimes, If the consequences are not really that bad.
Do you think alcohol is evil but necessary?
Absolutely. Yeah, alcohol.
Bro, does this guy really, bro? I mean clavicular? You're way smarter than me. You're way like more knowledgeable than me. I don't admit none of them. I'm not hating, but I'm just giving my opinion. I think you're a very smart individual. I think you're a very knowledgeable individual. But listen, bro, you cannot promote alcohol, man. Alcohol, like there are studies like that prove that alcohol has very bad negative effects. I mean, we all know this. We don't need like to look up studies. I mean, at this point, you can ask like a 10-year-old. He already knows this, because in a lot of societies it's intersubjective, right? That alcohol is bad, It has serious effects on the health, including like it affects cognitive cognitive abilities, right? It affects cognitive function, ability to learn, concentration ability, memory. It can lead to vomiting. It can lead to headaches. So you can't really promote that, It's bad for the stomach. So what can you really say?
Best way to block some of the neurotransmitters that are going to cause people to have anxiety. It's going to make you more sociable. It's going to make you more loose, more low inhib. But
it's not worth it, bro. It's like to destroy your mental health, to ruin like your mental health just to have low inhibition, Because that low inhibition can sometimes lead you to problems. If you don't act carefully in certain cases with certain people, like you may get into serious problems. There are people who might stab you. There are people who might beat your ass, So you gotta be careful, That low inhibition can really be a problem.
Temporary solution. That's why it's a huge problem. Because once you start to rely on alcohol for your social results, for getting women, when you're not drunk and when you're not intoxicated, your baseline state is still the same shitty version that it is.
Well, not for everyone. There are people who are naturally confident. They don't need alcohol. This is why this overgeneralization is bad, man. Not everyone who's confident is drinking alcohol. Like, is this what you're implying? Are you implying that everyone who's got low inhibition is an alcoholic, like is consuming alcohol? For example, like Aisho Speed, he has low inhibition, like he's stupid. Yeah, he acts totally crazy. You know, he has low inhibition. He does not think about the consequences. He does stuff like without thinking. You know, people misinterpret it like as stupid. You know, it could be the case. You know, it could not be. But he does not drink alcohol, so related to drinking alcohol. Anyway, so let's continue.
And that could lead to alcoholism. People are going to constantly start to drink, for daytime social events, right? To go to someone's birthday party. So that's why I really don't like to suggest drinking, but it's a phenomenal way to just give yourself a little bit of an edge in nightlife and in certain situations.
Yes, so you have a background in nightlife that I think has shaped some of
I
your...
mean, if you listen, yeah, I agree. I mean, if we're talking about I don't agree if we're talking about the effects, the negative effects on the health, right? But I mean, if your goal is to do all this or that, I mean, it's your life. You can do whatever you want, right? But your right is like to push what you believe in other people, like to force them to do something, because you do it or because like if that makes sense, right? But if your goal is to do that, I mean, you have no other way. I mean, you can do it if you want. I'm not saying anything. Like, I'm just giving my opinion.
Beliefs today. So aside from like the stats on dating apps and women choosing the top percentile of men, like what's kind of shaped your views around women? And what did you used to do in nightlife?
So I was a bouncer for a little while, and that kind of helped me make a lot of necessary observations to shape kind of how I think about things, right? So I was noticing who was going home with the pretty girls every night, and I noticed it was really about 1 to 2% of men, right? So it was people who were very tall, people who were very good looking.
I'm gonna give her my opinion. This is my honest opinion. Anyone who does stuff just to attract others is a fucking moron, bro. This is my opinion. Everyone who does stuff just solely for girls is a fucking moron. How are you gonna place, like, if you look at someone as superior to you, automatically, like in 9 out of 10 cases, they will look inferior, they will look to you as inferior. You cannot place someone above you. You cannot do something just to please someone. Why they don't do anything to please you? Why you gotta be the one who does everything to please them, but not the opposite? It's like there is this imbalance in the West, when men, they are the one who do everything, right? The effort, all the effort is done by men, What I mean by the effort is like, they are the ones who are trying to match the standards of women, but not the opposite, which is stupid, That's my opinion,
Something I was noticing over my formative years when I was a teenager growing up, right? So making these observations, kind of seeing that sometimes good-looking people would be able to go up to women and start making out with them without saying anything.
This is true. This is something that I agree on, bro. Like, if you're attractive, I mean, it helps in a lot of things. Aside from getting women stuff, it has a lot of benefits. It has a lot of social benefits. People treat you better. I mean, if this is valuable to you, bro, not everyone, like, you gotta understand. Not everyone wants social validation, Not everyone, like, is happy for social validation. Some people don't like being motivated by other people. They think that when other people motivate them, it's like they feel they're already at the top, so they don't do anything. Like, they feel like, why am I do anything, like, to improve? It's like, so it's not the same. The psychology of people it doesn't work the same. Of everyone doesn't work the same, so.
I kind of started with my worldview a little.
But it does help, as I said. Looks do help a lot. In social settings, how people treat you, how people perceive you. it's like two people do the same thing, right? One approach women to talk to them. Yeah, another approach they approach the same woman. One is seen as creepy, one is seen as charming. So what's the difference here? I mean, in a lot of cases, it could be because of the looks. I mean, it could be because of the way you approach, but a lot of times they interpret your behavior based on the way you look, right? It's called the halo effect. No, the halo effect is when people like make general conclusions about your personality based on one single trait. For example, if someone is attractive, then he's automatically like honest. If someone is unattractive, he's creepy. Like there is this, this general, like, what can I say, this stereotype. It's like people like they disqualify you, before you even talk to them because you're not qualified. It's like this pre-qualification. So in a lot of cases, yeah, you gotta be good looking to stand a chance, but you cannot overgeneralize. That's the problem. That's the thing that I don't agree with.
But and realize, hey, okay, so this is like the most important metric, and I have to go all in.
Do you think status is more important than looks?
Absolutely not.
No,
No.
nothing else.
I think that status can get you further than looks sometimes, but in terms of practicality, to beat people out in terms of looks, you have to be.
Bro, listen. Do you think that a woman would choose a broke Chad, right? Would she choose a broke Chad who's got nothing, like who has zero money, he has nothing in the bank, or would choose like a billionaire who's unattractive? Think about it. I would say nine times out of 10 she would go for the rich billionaire. So your point is destroyed. 9 times out of 10 she would go for the rich billionaire, not the broke Chad who has zero money in the bank. So how can you say that looks is the most important, more important than status in all cases? Like, how can you come up with this generalization? This is simply not true. I mean, one example, like if you could find one example, like one counter example, like in reality, then your point is destroyed. And I think there are many like counter examples in reality. There are many situations in which women choose the rich guy over the good-looking guy. But if they're both like rich, then it's different because other factors will come into play. Right?
So outrageously well resourced that it just doesn't seem like something that's.
I would say that one of the most important things is to be confident, because most people they judge you not based on who you are internally, but based on what you display. So if you show yourself as confident, a lot of people gonna think you're actually confident, even if you are not. So it helps a lot of the time, right? And there is this general like people do not understand the difference between like performing and faking yourself. Now, for example, if you're a teacher, right, and students made you angry, I mean, they do not listen, like they do not follow the course, they made you angry, but you're not showing that you're angry. A lot of people gonna interpret it as being fake, but it's not fake, because you are not. It's like, in a sense, it's like you are not decepting anyone. You're not pretending to be happy, or but you are not, right? So this is not called being fake. But if you are sad, right? Because if based on the same context, like if someone like anyone who cusses someone, he gotta be like, if we go by this thing, like by this basis. Anyone who cusses someone, the person gotta be angry. He gotta display anger. He gotta display sadness. If he doesn't, he's fake. That would be ridiculous if we go by this standard, right? But if you are sad inside, ask you how are you feeling, right? And you lie to them, you tell them that you are not sad, that you are happy, then we would say that you are fake, because you are decepting other people. So fakeness is based on deception, not performing, right? Because if it's based on performing, then acting would be fake too, which is what people wouldn't agree upon, they don't agree about. So
Suggesting it or talking about, because the average person will never get there. The average person can improve their looks a lot more than their status, in terms of like what's actually accomplishable to be able to be hooking up with like top tier models. You really have to be like, 7 to 8 figure tier to be able to compete with some of these top looking guys, so I would say start with the looks, but also go with the status. It's
okay, so what I would say, I mean, if your goal is to attract women, bro, I'm not interested about none of that bullshit. I think it's low IQ people who are pretending that no matter how educated you are, no matter how knowledgeable you are, no matter how smart you are, I think if you are doing things for women, you are not really that intelligent, in my opinion. This is my opinion, right? Because I already explained why, right? You can never be truly happy if you're trying to please others, because you are placing your happiness on them, right? Someone who thinks logical, like he sees like whether like this benefits me or not, right? So you do things that are actually beneficial, but they are beneficial, like to you, not to others. Because as I said, it's not logical to do things for others because you are placing your happiness on them, right? So they control your happiness in a sense. So the most logical thing is to do what pleases you, right? Something that pleases you, that makes you feel happy. Chase your goals in life, Dream big. But it's never about other people,
two metrics are majorly important, but what's actually possible for most people, I'd say start with looks.
So what you're speaking about here seems to be a lot on the front.
Yeah, as I said, if you gotta, I mean, if you got, I mean, my goal is not the same as most people, So my goal is, I mean, like I was already, so if you get into details, man, I was already like a nihilist, right? So I was a nihilist like a couple of months ago, right? I was a subjective nihilist. If you don't know what a subjective nihilist means, a subjective nihilist is someone who denies an objective purpose of existence, right? And he also denies the subjective purposes, like their dreams and goals. Like, because I had this idea that we are the ones who attribute values to these dreams and goals. So we can strive this value from them anytime. So they don't really matter in an objective sense. So this is why I like, why go through all this suffering to achieve this subjective goals, I thought it was not worth it. But after that, I switched my view, just do it. I mean, as long as I'm alive, I cannot end this shit and just do it, So I switched back to absurdism, right? Just live life, just try to live. It's only one chance, so do everything that you can, right? But now, like every time I lose it, every time I'm not going in the direction that I want, I'm switching back to like nihilism again. But I'm more of a subjective nihilist at this point. Like I still deny the objective purpose, of existence, but I'm like more concerned about the subjective purposes, because I had this idea that dreams or goals are illusions created by the mind, right? But they are actually real. They are like experiences, that they are real experiences. They are not illusions, I mean, as long as I'm alive, I don't know. Then maybe just push, do all that you can, try to reach what you want.
End of like meeting a woman or connecting with a guy, but as far as like long-term relationship happiness, would you say from your experience that a woman is more happy with a guy who's rich but not very good looking, or a guy that's good looking but not very wealthy, he's broke?
A woman who's with a man who's rich and not good looking will never truly love her. Okay, this is a term called beta buxing, right? Where a guy is only able to, have a girl, be with him simply due to his money. That's a beta buck.
Man, this guy is really like he's doing something really wrong here, man. Again, he's overgeneralizing, right? He's associating looks with life, which is not the case. As I said, attraction is based on a lot of factors. So you cannot like say it's only depend on one factor, or one factor is the most important, but ignore all the other factors. Definitely, if you're fucking broke and you're a Chad, in a long-term relationship, that attraction will fade over time. Like, even if you're attractive, it won't be as valuable, over time, It will become normal. It will be normalized by your partner. It's like they can look at it as something normal. So you gotta have a lot of things if you want to sustain a relationship, right? You gotta be wealthy. You gotta have a good chemistry with your partner. You gotta have good looks, shared values, like emotional stability, so a lot of things, so.
Sir. So they will never look at your.
So what I would say, people who want to be in relationships, people who want to be attract women, want to do all this. Even though I think this is completely stupid, I think this is illogical. I think thinking about women is what's leave you behind, is distracting. Is one of the key things that leaves you behind in your life, because you're constantly thinking about women. You're not doing the work it takes, to achieve your goals, you're achieving your dreams. And an easier alternative to attract women, if you want, is to chase your goals, to chase your dreams. They automatically will come for you, because once they see you on your purpose, once they see that you have a purpose, they will come to you, Sorry, I switched the video, right? Anyways, that's enough of the video, man. So there is a lot of generalization. There is a lot of anecdotal fallacy, from personal, giving evidence from personal experience. So okay, so let's see what another person has to say. Let's see what Face IQ has to say, right? What does he have to say? I want to know what he has to say. I don't think there's a video where he talks about beauty in particular, whether it's subjective, whether it's objective, right? Again, listen. Even if you base like the golden ratio is objective, like it's a mathematical ratio. But even if you try to use it, by using it to measure beauty is subjective. And it's not objective, because it's not like a measure of beauty. The golden ratio is not a measure of beauty. Being close to the golden ratio does not mean that you're objectively beautiful. That is not the case, right? There are different ways to measure beauty. That's why it is not objective, because there are different standards. There is not only one standard to measure it. And it's not like a quantity. We are not talking about the speed, measuring speed of light. We are not talking about measuring mass. So how can you actually measure something like that? When you assign a value to beauty, when you assign a number to beauty, it's similar to assigning rating something on difficulty, based on giving 7 or 8. You cannot be precise. It's not possible, because it's not quantifiable, For example, it's like saying the force of this gravity, what can I say, is no, that's a bad example, but it's as I said, the difficulty thing is like saying this is 10 out of 10 difficulty. You cannot really give it a precise number, because it's not something quantifiable. It's not something that you measure with numbers. And you cannot rely on biology to measure it, right? As I said, because biologically is not designed to track truth. Even for like this metrics that you consider objective, like which are not objective, like symmetry, proportions, clear skin, right? And attraction, as I said, depends on a lot of things, like dress, hygiene, as I said, a lot of things, looks, personality, chemistry, wealth, status, fame, emotional stability, shared values. So it depends on a lot of things. It's a complex concept, right? So you cannot really measure it. It depends on this intersubjective factors, with biological constraints. It depends with purely intersubjective factors that depend on the societies, the culture. So you cannot really measure it. So this is my view. This is what I think. Anyway, so thanks for watching, man. I think that's it. I gave my opinion. So I criticized what the clavicular guy thinks. He's very smart. He's way smarter than me. He's way more knowledgeable than me. But still, I think he's overgeneralizing too much. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'm out. Peace.